Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today you're going to see the dream game as I'm playing my Tier 7 premium French light tank, the AMX 1357. So this vehicle, and this game specifically, is just when everything goes right inside World of Tanks. And when you're playing a vehicle like this, which has an 8-round 57mm autoloader, which doesn't actually have that much ammunition. Yeah, you better hope that things are going to go right for the vehicle. This is... I'm actually going to say, I don't usually say that my marksmanship is bang on in World of Tanks, but in that situation, considering that I manually aimed all 8 shells against the Type 64 on the enemy team, we've immediately taken down some of the vision that the enemy would have. And that's what you should want to try and do at the start of the game in your light tanks. If you can try and get into those sneaky positions, like this one that we see here on the steps map, and you can try and put some pressure up on the enemy light tanks either with your own vision or alternatively, yeah, with an 8-round 57mm autoloader that is capable of dealing 720 damage within 7 seconds of the first shot. This thing is just an absolute wild child of a vehicle. It's just absolutely bizarre to have something with a 1-second intra-clip reload. It feels really good at tier 10 on something like the TVP, for example, to have a 1.5-second intra-clip reload. That feels phenomenal. And while, look, this vehicle doesn't have 320 alpha damage with an 8-round autoloader with a 1-second intra-clip reload, but it still feels very, very fun indeed. You might not be doing the largest amount of burst damage that you could possibly deal. I mean, 720 damage over 7 seconds isn't really that impressive. Don't get me wrong, it's good for a tier 7 light tank. It's very good. But considering just how it feels, I think that this tank is more for show. It's got a very loud bark, shall we say. Its bite is pretty good, but it definitely doesn't match up to how you feel when you're driving in this tank and you just get to fully unload on something like this. So we put 1 shell into the ridgeline, unfortunately, and the reason for that is that, spoilers, this game is going to get very, very close with regards to our ammunition towards the end of it. And that's because this vehicle, when it's got such low alpha damage, it doesn't actually carry that many rounds inside the tank. The maximum amount of ammunition it can carry is 56, and considering that the alpha damage on the vehicle is a paltry... What is the alpha damage? God, World of Tanks, tell me, it's like 80 or 90, right? It's actually 90, yeah, 90 alpha damage. Such a bizarre one to try and remember inside this tank, but it would make sense if it does have 720 damage per magazine. But considering that, your potential damage that you can deal in this vehicle is just over 5,000, and that is if you penetrate every single one of your shells. Now you'll see that I take a large amount of premium rounds inside this tank, because you can meet up to tier 9 vehicles, and when you're dealing with tier 9 tanks, the, again, really poor penetration that this tank has of 143 is definitely not going to win any prizes. Think about trying to penetrate the front of an IS-3, let alone having to try and deal with an E-75, for example, which is why the APCR rounds on this premium tank, they're very expensive, they're incredibly filthy, but they also do give you a definite advantage. The way that I look at it is that if I fired all of my regular rounds inside this tank, and at least I've managed to penetrate them, even if I was to then go and load the gold, as long as I'm not bouncing shells, I'm still probably going to break even by the end of the battle in a tank like this. So we fire a few rounds, follow it up with a VK360 1 kill, and now we're going to put a few more into the Type 58, and oh dear, I would have liked maybe a couple of extra high rolls, although we did actually high roll most of the shells in that magazine, or possibly a fire on an ammo rack would have saved me. Unfortunately, the artillery is unable to finish off the Type 58, but luckily for us, the LT-432 manages to do so. So keep in mind that figure. The average damage that you will deal in this tank if you penetrate every single vehicle with, well, not every single vehicle, but you penetrate all of your shells, is going to be just over 5,000, 5,040 to be exact. And that's not taking into account when, for example, we had to do 6 damage to the VK3601, where you're going to lose a lot of that potential damage that your vehicle is able to deal. And this is just the absolute dream for this tank right now. It feels like we're just getting into the right position, and it's also a very frenetic game. To be up to 3,000 damage within 4 minutes of the start of this battle, 4.5 minutes if I'm being specific, is very, very good for a tank like this, and it doesn't always happen this way. But this is one of those tanks that in those kind of bursty engagements does do very well. So I let the LT-432 know that I'm going to be approaching the AMX-12T, but unfortunately for that tier 8 Soviet light tank, the tier 6 French light tank sets them on fire. Now I counted 3 shells from the AMX-12T, meaning that at most they're going to have 1 more shell left, and I decide, like, how much can I let the vehicle burn? And luckily that fire gives us just enough damage dealt against the tier 6 French light tank to be able to finish them off with the extra shot. I was getting a little bit worried there. We were rolling the dice. We rolled 79, then we rolled 86, then we rolled 82. Not really the 90 alpha damage that this vehicle has that we would want to be able to be dealing to finish him off. If we literally finished the tank off with the final remaining shell in the magazine, and I was thinking, like, do I have to ram this French light tank to be able to finish him off? Otherwise, he's going to be able to reload before us and probably be able to shut me down. So now up to 5 kills and 3,500 damage. I see an FCM 50T on the left and a T25-2 on the right. I think if I go after that FCM 50T, then the T25-2 is going to have the side of my tank. So I'm going to drive towards them, and I'm going to pretend like I'm coming around this corner. Then I'm going to turn right, and funnily enough, the T25-2 doesn't actually manage to spot me here. I don't think he realizes that I'm flanking. Maybe he's still aiming in front of him for where I'm going to come from. He actually shoots at the Tiger Peel, the IS-3, and now we just have the dream flank scenario. That was an expensive magazine. The ammunition cost on this tank, let me just take a look to see what the exact ammunition cost is. The ammunition cost on this tank is 2,800, meaning that, yeah, we are we're definitely not making credits by firing 6 rounds or 8 rounds at the back of that vehicle there. But here we go, the final 6 rounds of the magazine, sneaking up behind the Stridswagen M4257. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and he's on fire. I waited to see if he would continue to burn, and now I'm burning. I mean, can it get much hotter? We are literally on fire at the end of the game, and that's speaking both figuratively and also non-figuratively. This was just one of those dream rounds of World of Tanks where everything goes right. I think I pretty much did the equivalent of winning the lottery inside World of Tanks in this round, and finishing off the final remaining tank with the final shell inside my vehicle. Yeah, that's definitely not a regular occurrence. And when that does happen, you actually get one of the rarest medals in the game, the Faden's medal. Usually something that a lot of players will try and cheese. You know, when you're in a heavy tank and you're against an artillery at the end of a very long drawn out battle, and you kind of make them think that you're just a really bad shot right up until the last shell. But to get it naturally here in a vehicle that just has such a wild kind of burst damage, and that freaky 8-round magazine just felt so good, and the stars aligned with that little bit of extra damage with the fire at the end. We get a high caliber medal for 4,689 damage dealt. We hit 55 out of the 56 shots that we started with, and 53 of those penetrated. That total actually puts this game in the top 10 damage rounds of all time in the AMX 1357. At least it's been uploaded to the What Replays website. And it's not surprising when the maximum potential damage that this vehicle can deal is 5,040 if you penetrate every single one of your shells. Of course, without counting fires or counting ammo racks, which, while this was my dream game, yeah, I wasn't blessed with in this round. And yeah, ladies and gents, boys and girls, you know, when I mentioned that the premium rounds in this tank can get rather expensive, I spent 91,000 credits on ammunition. And unless I was running a premium account, I would have actually lost credits in this game. Let that one sink in for a bit. But on the other hand, this was a very unusual scenario where most of the time in this tank you fire off 1 or 2 mags tops before it's your time to move back to the garage. Or alternatively, more optimistically, the battle is won. All in all, the AMX 1357, a filthy tier 7 premium tank that since Wargaming changed the matchmaker of all of the lights, has been in a very good position. But yeah, don't expect to pick this one up to make tons of credits unless you do manage to get yourself into a dream scenario like this one, and hopefully against lower tier tanks where you can pen them with regular rounds as well. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was one of my dream rounds so far of 2021. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know, what was your dream round of World of Tanks where everything just seemed to go right? What tank was it in? How much damage did you deal? And how many kills did you pick up? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.